And maybe if we could focus, there we go. There we go. That's better focus. All right, so let me adjust that just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I spent this last week watching a lot of anime, playing Love Language Japanese, and also while watching anime, doing some practice on hands. So I've been drawing hands this past week. Not doing that great, but not doing that bad either. I mean, they're recognizably hands. It's one of those things where what I'm trying to draw is not something I'm especially good at drawing. And it just occurs to me you can't see my screen, so it doesn't matter if I'm showing you this. So I'll show it to you momentarily. But one of the things I noticed is I kind of had this little breakthrough on Love Language Japanese, which it was just like it's trying to teach you how to speak and read Japanese. And I'm mostly interested in the how to read part because I got these Japanese art books. And they're excellent art books, but I can't fucking read them. I can look at the pictures and like try to do what it's telling me to do, and sometimes it's very helpful and goes, here's a green circle for what you're supposed to do, and here's a red X for what you're not supposed to do. And that's great, but sometimes I can't tell what they're telling me, do this, not that. I have to read the text to know what they're saying, and it just takes so goddamn long. It's like 15, 20 minutes to translate something, or at least it used to be. And now I can almost sight read the kana. I'm getting close on it. I'm not quite there yet. But I would say I'm like 60, 70% of the way there, where I was probably 15% of the way there when I started. And that's been nice. But one of the kind of breakthrough moments I had was when you start to recognize the particles as you're reading through a sentence, when you start to recognize the wa, ga, wo, no, and ni particles, just those 5, when you can recognize those by sight, you can split the sentence up into its individual parts. And that's tremendously useful, especially when you don't know what the fuck that word is. You can identify by the particles what purpose that word serves in the sentence. And because you can identify what purpose it serves, you know whether you need to bother looking it up. You know? So that's quite useful, because this whole like Love Language Japanese thing is just it teaches you all of 8 kanji. And I already know substantially more than that, but I do not know anywhere near the 2,500 kanji you need to actually fluently read Japanese. That's frustrating. I will work on that as I go. But for the moment, I just stall whenever I see kanji. Except for a couple. There are a couple that I can recognize, like I can recognize draw. Because I've got all these art books, and they say, how to draw, and there's a kanji for draw. And I'm like, I know that one. I know what that one is. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about... about the work I've been doing on hands. Here's the hand practice I was doing earlier today, and it's got like, I mean, it's not terrible. And then I did another page of those over here, and one of the things that I'm kind of working on, I have this issue, and what I'm working with here. Let me pull this out. I have this Japanese anatomy book. Be nice if I could read it. That's why I'm working on learning how. But yeah, there's I I got this Japanese anatomy book that I'm working from, and I've got this little book holder thingy that is holding it open so I can see what it's talking about. But I'm also working from the old classic, Bernd Hogarth's drawing Dynamic Hands. And in particular, one of the issues that I have, one of the things that I run into all the time, is making the fingers feel like they have proper dimensions. Like I have this tendency to, when I draw the fingers, well, I identify where the fingers go. I start off by drawing the palm, like so. Like here's the hand, and back here is the wrist, and we'll say that right here is the little finger side. So the little finger would come off here, and then you got your ring finger coming out here, and you got your middle finger coming out here, and your index finger coming out here. And there's a little space between each of them, and that, of course, means that over here would be your thumb, although the thumb would more likely drop below the hand over here. So that's a thing that I would have to account for, and that would I'd come out over here. See, this is a bad location for the thumb, but that would kind of drop down over here. Here would be the thumb just kind of hanging down over here. And then I would have the fingers. And the problem that I run into is that I'll draw like, here's the first segment of the finger. And I don't do a good job of identifying where the top of the finger is. Like here, the middle finger, that's going to come out a little bit farther, right? So the middle finger comes out a little farther, and then I don't really accurately identify most of the time where the top of the finger is and where the side of the finger is. I have trouble with that. And here again, we've got this one, got this ring finger. Excuse me. And you need to identify where the top of it is. And then you have the little finger. And the little finger is always like so much smaller than I think it ought to be. But as I'm drawing these things out, I do not, as a general rule, do a good job of identifying where things are and where things go. Like if we've got, here's the hand, and here's kind of the shape of the hand. It comes out a little bit where the middle finger goes, and I would go, there's the middle finger, and there's the forefinger, and there's the ring finger, and here's the little finger. So the little finger, you would see like the whole thing, but then the ring finger would be down alongside of it. And I just do the most terrible job of identifying the planes of the finger. And that makes the whole hand look like absolute garbage. So I'm don't really have any tips on that, but then here's the middle finger, which is kind of hanging out a little bit too. And then we'd have kind of the tendons coming along here, and I don't do a good job on that. I don't do a good job on any of this, really. But it's like I know the anatomy of the hand, and I know how everything is supposed to fit together. I just do not do a good job of portraying it. And that doesn't really look good. And I'm not sure, now if I were to create a new layer and drag it down underneath of there and go, okay, we're going to put a skin tone on that. If I go to fill that in with a skin tone, okay, once I get it filled in, it's like, how do I render this to make it actually look like a hand? I don't do a good job on that. And part of that is because, as I'm sure some of you have immediately noticed, I haven't really indicated the thickness of the hand itself. I haven't drawn the hand as a three-dimensional figure. And over here we'd have the thumb. That too would go on the lower layer. But yeah, it's recognizably a hand, but I don't feel like I've done a good job representing it. And I sort of feel like, let's come over here and we'll use a kind of a dark red here. Like here would be the thumb, and here's the outline of the finger, and the outline of the next finger, and the next two. This little finger is way too long. Be more like that. And I'll outline the side of the hand there. And if I now take that line art layer and hide it, you can see that it really just doesn't look good. And it's like I have a solid idea of what it is I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm looking at these examples, and there's all kinds of little things that that I can work with, like there's this general sort of heart-shaped bit that happens on the finger right here, and that is kind of bracketed by this fleshy bit of the finger. All right, but that's one thing when you're looking at it from head on, and quite another when you're looking at it from the side, where that fleshy bit now needs to wrap around and getting that to wrap around, getting that to look like it wraps around, that's a whole different question. And I don't feel like I do a good job on that. And when I look at the work that I do trying to just like outline the hand, turns out that indeed I do not do a good job on that. Let's clean up some of the fill in here. So mostly what I'm talking about here is I'm frustrated and running into problems. We all get frustrated and run into problems. That's absolutely a thing. But it's very frustrating, and I don't know what it is I need to change. This finger is also, it's also too long. And I tend to make fingers too thick too. So like, if I'm trying to outline a hand, then I bring the finger down there, and then the next finger kind of comes in, comes out a little farther, it comes down a little farther because this is the middle finger. Then I draw that down. And then here comes the third one, which comes down about as far as that second one. Then comes over. And finally, we have the little finger, which is almost straight on. You can kind of see that there. And here we've got this one. This has got to be the side of the finger. This has got to be the top of the finger here. And I'm not doing a great job on this. I'm never doing a great job on this, like ever, when I'm trying to do these. When I'm trying to put these together, I feel like I put the right parts in, but I still do not get the correct look or feel, and I don't really know why. I mean, I'm drawing the parts. I understand that, like, you've got your palm, and I understand that you've got all of the fingers, and I understand that each of the fingers has its specific length. I understand that the little finger in particular is way shorter than you think. But even though I put all the pieces together, I don't really get the results that I'm looking for. And they just look messed up. Like, that's entirely the wrong angle for the thumb. And it is frustrating. And because it's frustrating, I kind of feel... I feel like I should be better than this, and because I feel like I should be better than this, I don't want to do this. I have moved beyond feeling like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing and can't do anything right, and it just goes wrong every time I turn around. But this is one of those things that you need to go through. It's one of those things that you need to work on. And I mean, lots of people are still working on hands. They still can't draw hands after like 10, 15, 20 years. Sitting here after 6 and going, I can't draw hands, is like join the fucking club, you know? It's like all the people that can't draw feet, and I work on feet too. And feet, actually, I feel like I'm making a fair bit of progress with. I feel like I can draw feet, you know? But hands are another matter. You're actually drawing feet, and when you're drawing feet, you kind of have the big toe over here, and then you got the smaller toes over here. But they don't need to be all that detailed, you know? They can just be kind of there. The heel extends a little bit past the back of the leg, right in there. But you got your calf coming up here. And then here's the Achilles tendon. And then that runs right back into the heel. And the heel is kind of, you got your tibia up here, and you got the fibula right behind it. And then coming off of the fibula, you've got this kind of, you've got all the ankle bones, and then you've got this heel structure that comes off the side, and it's padded all the way around by fat. And down here off of the tibia, you've got the tarsals and the metatarsals, and then the phalanges themselves. And then there's the arch runs underneath of that. And there's little things like the shape of a footprint, how that fits together. And this part of the foot kind of doesn't really hit the ground. I feel like I've got a good enough grasp of feet. I can't draw photorealistic feet, but I feel like I have a decent enough grasp on how to do them. I understand the anatomy, I understand how they look, I understand how they work. It's definitely something I need to work on, particularly when it comes to the foot interacting with the ground plane. Because your foot's going to be sitting here, and here's your big toe. Here's the side of your foot, and here's your heel. And then that all has to come up and work in terms of how that fits together. And relating the foot to the ground is something that I've done a fair amount of work on, but I'm still not great at it, you know? Because that's one of the things that drives me nuts is when I'm reading a comic book or a manga and somebody's standing somewhere and it just looks like they're floating in the air because their feet don't relate properly to the ground plane. And that's very frustrating. So I kind of feel like starting with the feet and legs is the smart way to do that. What is on there? That was just dust. But yeah, I'm on anatomy studies at the moment, and it's very frustrating. And it's one of those things where I am, again, not entirely certain what I am doing wrong. And that's the hard part of working on your own, is understanding what you are doing wrong. And this is what I talk to people all the time, and I go, use references. And I've used references, and they don't really seem to help. I think it's because I still don't entirely grasp what it is that I'm doing. And that's a very frustrating thing. I mean, after 6 years of doing this stuff, yeah, I know lots of people still can't draw hands, but I've been working on drawing hands off and on the whole time. And I feel like I should be better at them than this. Because that's really standing in the way on some of my work. Like, I come in here and I open up, where'd it go? There's one particular piece I was working on, this one right here, that this revolves fundamentally around the this revolves around that hand. If that hand doesn't look good, this whole piece doesn't look good. Okay? I can fuck that hand up, I'll be fine. But this hand, that hand's got to be 100% correct. And I do not know how to do that. So this hands thing is really kind of standing in the way. Having a hand right up in your face is a dramatic and powerful pose that that I want to make use of in my work fairly frequently. And if I can't do that, then it's really standing in my way. It's really preventing me from doing a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to do. And you can see that all the way back from the first, that first sketch I did. That is that it? I don't know if that's it or not. This is it right here. This one. This is the sketch that I did back in 2019. So it's actually just 5 years. Was it 2019? No, it's 18. It's 2018. So back in 2018, I was sitting on a Discord server and I was talking to people about their art because they kept asking me questions, and they said, "Why don't you ever post your art?" So I posted some of my art, and that was what I posted, and a bunch of people said, "You should work on it because that's pretty good." And I taking another look at it, I feel like my art is still not much improved from this. I mean, I do better on certain aspects of it, but I feel like I haven't made a whole lot of progress from this one piece. Although I have. I mean, honestly, I have, I know so much more about color theory, so much more about rendering, so much more about composition and structure and construction and anatomy and all of that stuff. I can actually do backgrounds. But it feels like I haven't made a lot of progress. I look at that piece and I go, I couldn't do a piece much better than that. I could do better than that. But I wouldn't feel like the piece I did was very much better. And that's kind of frustrating. But the actual reality is I'm a whole lot better than I was back then in a whole lot of different ways. And it just doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like the progress I've made counts for some reason. And I'm not entirely sure how to fix that, which is one of the reasons that I'm sitting around watching anime and playing games. I need to figure out what this weekly thing is going to be called. What the Sunday morning video is going to be named. What the name of that playlist is going to be. Because I just got next week. Next week is the last live stream here on the Discord. And then it's all going to be pre-recorded. And at some point it'll move to being edited. If history is any indication, it'll be like 5 years, so don't hold your breath on that. But I do want to do some editing, and I do want to do some other stuff, and I'm not sure. I'm never sure, I'm never sure until the moment, it's always in the moment that I go, oh, I know what I'm doing now. But until then, I have no fucking clue. So, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. Sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to have to come up with a name for that show. And I'm going to have to get back on the horse of doing time lapses. Maybe I should time lapse practice. Maybe that should be the thing. Maybe I should do specific practice on a specific thing and do a time lapse of that. Because if I were to take this, if I were to turn this into a time lapse, that would be what, like 2 minutes? Almost 3. It'll be almost 3 minutes if I did a time lapse of this. Which in and of itself is mildly depressing. Anyway, it's kind of where things are right now. I don't know where to go from here, so just like, I don't know. I think that'll be it for this week. Do a little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all the happy horse shit. You never get past these moments. You never get past these kind of feeling like you're getting nowhere, feeling like you're accomplishing nothing. And yet at the same time, I sit here and I go, you know, earlier this year, I would never have thought this was something I could do. The idea of doing something like this would have seemed out of my reach. And it's still not like rendered, but I know how I would render it. And when you look at some of the landscapes that I've done, like you look at the schoolhouse, that was definitely out of my reach. Not even a year ago, just like a couple of months. And already I look at it and I go, well, that's fucked up, that's fucked up, that's fucked up. Those are off center. Hey, if I flip this canvas horizontally, holy shit, look at everything wrong. Look at that. That's ridiculous. It really is. And as an underrated way to check your shit, bench still looks good when I flip. When I flip it, the bench still looks good. I worked hard on that bench. I'm glad that bench still looks good when it's flipped. These trees over here, oh my God. Look at them flop back and forth. Look at that, like, look how far off vertical they are. Look at that shit. Look at that. Look how fucking terrible that is. Like, there's a guide, look how far off vertical. There's another guide. Look how far off vertical. It's about the same amount too. I think this tree's off. The tree's actually fine. About this one. That one's okay. Yeah, look at how ridiculous that is. Look what an absolute piece of shit that little bush is. And the reality is, I did pretty good on this. That's not really a problem. It's okay. I don't have to worry about that. But just in the few weeks since I did it, I'm like, man, that's garbage. your aspirations improve so much faster than your skills, you know, and that's very, very frustrating. And it's important to observe here. Notice that I am not going and looking at other people's shit to see whether I'm improving. Although I did do that recent thing where I said, you know, let's duplicate me on and see how good a job we do. That is way better than the job I did trying to duplicate me on last time I did that. I don't even know if I have that saved. I think I threw it away and said, nope. Nope, nobody's ever going to see that. Yeah, it's a value study. So it's awful. It's just, God, look at that. Like, the entire contour is like completely off. This is not terrible, you know? It's okay. I'm not there yet, but there's a crossable gap. It is so important to remind yourself that the gap is crossable, that you can get across it, that this is something you can transcend and you can succeed at getting where you're trying to go. That's so important, because otherwise you'll just get really, really depressed, where I've been before. And, you know, it's helpful to open this stuff up and go, you know, hey, I painted this zombie. And that's not something I would have considered anything I could do not that long ago. Are there problems with it? God, there's a bunch of problems with it. What are you talking about? But then, you know, like Ollie in the Cellar, that took a lot of work, and I feel like I actually put a character in the environment. He still doesn't feel like he's standing in the environment. Line work, particularly around the shoes, is kind of garbage. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on this, but there's like, sometimes when you are working on a piece and you get toward the end of a piece and you start putting something in and it's not looking good, you get mad at yourself and you do a shitty job and say, I'm just going to get it done. It doesn't matter if it sucks. I'm just going to get it done. It's going to suck anyway. And then you just put more and more suckage in the picture until, at the very least, it's finished. It is finished. I did finish it. I should have done a better job on it. I need to think about how I'm going to start doing a better job on these things and making them look better. I need to do more studies from reference, and I need to do more practice. I'm not doing that, and I should be doing that. Anyway, that's kind of where we are this week. Thank you for showing up. Thank you very much, all of you that ever show up. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna jump out of this. And okay, bye.